I want to share some case studies with you, fledgling and startup companies that I've worked with that have grown to become major global players. Now, I've chosen each one because they illustrate some of the key themes that run throughout this course. And they are: 1. To become a leader, a company must behave like a leader. 2. If you don't ask, you won't get. 3. Think like the media, an editor, a journalist, a top blogger. And that often means that you'll also have to, 4, think outside the box. Let's start with behaving like a leader. A few years ago, I was asked to help a small jobbing shop software house to deliver an aggressive growth strategy. I can picture them still. Their office was above an automobile sales showroom in a rundown part of town. Their receptionist sat next to a coat stand at what looked like a kitchen table. Wires trailed out of the back of her computer like a rat's nest, and parcels were all over the floor. The lavatory was shared with other tenants. A multinational it wasn't. They decided to focus on developing a high-value software platform for a sector of the pharmaceutical industry, with a typical implementation cost well in excess of $2 million. Their chosen pharmaceutical sector had the advantage of most companies being outside the UK, which meant that at least they could easily hide their very modest size. From day one, they decided to spend their marketing budget almost exclusively on media coverage in pharmaceutical magazines. They didn't even have a company brochure or a product brochure. But they behaved like a leader, and that's how the media accepted them. They wrote with authority and they got published. After their first major sale, a couple of $1 million, they took their next big media step. We decided to publish our own quarterly newsletter aimed at VPs within the pharma sector. And from day one, it was most definitely not a sales newsletter. It discussed key issues in the pharma industry and featured interviews with international thought leaders. And I never had a problem finding completely relevant material. In an independent readership survey, something like 80% of recipients agreed with the statement, "I look forward to receiving each issue." A significant number said they had passed on copies to colleagues. And over the years, we received requests from readers going on maternity leave asking us to send copies to their home address. Within 7 years, they had become a true multinational with implementations around the globe, very prestigious headquarters in the UK and offices overseas. Their system had become the de facto solution for their market sector. The company achieved its planned exit strategy, was sold to a huge American company, and their product is still the market leader worldwide. Now, clearly, there are a lot of factors behind their success: a great product, highly motivated staff, a clear strategy, and so on. But their leadership approach to the media was also a major contributor. If you don't ask, you won't get. At first it's going to feel strange phoning editors and journalists and contacting bloggers if you've never done it before. Don't worry, I do show you how to schmooze the media later on in the course. But this maxim, if you don't ask, you won't get, is a good one. One of the most extreme examples I've experienced was on behalf of a family-owned software house who again adopted the non-sales newsletter approach. Their focus was industrial strength accounting systems. Always on the lookout for big-name contributors, I contacted Microsoft and asked for an interview with Bill Gates. We asked, we got. An exclusive. Later we tried the same tactic for an interview with Prince Charles. We asked, we got. And remember, this was a little company in the north of England. think outside the box. One very new company, it was less than 12 months old, specialised in IT security. They had a speaking slot at one of the big computer exhibitions, along with dozens of other companies. No big news there. Unlike their competitors, though, who simply gave a sales spiel, we billed our session as 15 ways to hack the IBM AS400. We had a story. When we sent press releases to the computer press, guess which speaker got all the media coverage? Yeah, what a perfect example of thinking like an editor, turning a non-story, small IT company giving presentation at exhibition, into a compelling story. Another example from the same company, they had a hard core of target security directors who never responded to mail shots or telemarketing. So we developed a campaign based around the TV programme Mission Impossible. We bought a bunch of incredibly low cost, something like $10, Walkman-style cassette players. We recorded a spoof Mission Impossible message that ended with the inevitable, "This tape will self-destruct," and mailed it out to IT security directors of large companies. This is a brief expert.
Good morning, Information Security Agent. Your mission, should you decide to take it, is to reduce an overwhelming mass of data into usable, meaningful information. Next, you must provide the right information to the right people in and outside your enterprise with the right access.
It was a fantastic lead generation program, but once we'd produced the material, we then sent it to all the IT and security magazine editors. An incredible response that opened the door to all the key media people specialising in IT security. Think like the media. During the course, you'll learn why most releases are binned. They don't have a story, they're not news, they're not novel, they don't have a compelling image, and they don't make the editor's life any easier. I mean, remember our Hacker's Guide? Now that was novel. One client pulled off a long-term coup by making life easy for a trade editor. The client specialised in software solutions for builders merchants. Those are the trade outlets that supply the construction industry. They offered to provide regular monthly articles on technology trends for a magazine called Builders Merchant Journal. They promised never to make a sales pitch. All they wanted was the byline and a photo of their MD, the author. They wanted to be a voice in the industry. They were turned down flat, of course. No editor believes a contributor like that will ever resist the temptation to sell. So my client simply submitted suitable, value-added articles each month, knowing that they wouldn't be published at first. After 3 or 4 submissions, they won the editor over. Result? For 2 or 3 years, my client had a full-page feature every month at no cost. Full-page adverts would have cost thousands and lacked the credibility of featured articles. What do you do when asked to get local press coverage for a company that has achieved quality accreditation? An accreditation that probably thousands of other companies already have. Make it a novel photo opportunity. The company concerned rented part of a floor in an iconic Liverpool building known as the Liverbirds Building. It was used as the planning base for transatlantic warfare in World War II. We got an artist to airbrush a huge banner onto a photo of the building, a bit like a work by the artist Christo. Remember, he covered the Sydney Harbour Bridge with a giant drape? That one picture alone got coverage in all the local and regional papers as well as the trade press. One last one. A final example of thinking like an editor, thinking outside the box. In this example, we managed to get a complete non-story into the press, on BBC TV, Sky TV and other cable channels. I was asked to get coverage in the local rag for a 4-man startup company that was moving from their incubator office to new premises. And big deal, the Lord Mayor had been invited to cut the tape. That has got to be the ultimate nun story. Time to think outside the box. The company concerned specialised in selling high-tech security systems. I asked if their new offices included all the latest gizmos, and sure enough, it did, including something called a smoke cloak. A system that, once an intruder has been detected, instantly fills the room with an impenetrable but harmless smokescreen, totally disorienting. Next, I contacted the police to get statistics on office break-ins. Now we had everything we needed to grab an editor's attention. A story. A really novel story. Startup moves into the most secure building in the UK. Well, who knows? It might have been true. Saving the editor time and effort. We'd done all the research and handed the crime statistics and costs on a plate. A photo opportunity. Believe me, captured at the right moment, a smokescreen looks like Armageddon. Result? Full-page press coverage and prime-time TV coverage of what had to have been a no-go nun story. Sure you can do it. To become a leader, behave like a leader. Ask the impossible and you'll often get. Think like an editor, a journalist, a top blogger. And think outside the box.